Om Sambara Sambara Bimanasarma Zavabahum Petsoha. Om Sambara Sambara Bimanasarma Zavabahum Petsoha. Om Sambara Sambara Bimanasarma Zavabahum Petsoha. The chapter on the Restoration Rite. Prologue. A global summary of the chapter on the Restoration Rite. Tīrthika, Kapfina, Sight, the King, and several repetitions. Tīrthika. A summary. Tīrthika, the motion, consent, seated practice, meditation residence, manager, acts, and the Restoration Rite site. Tīrthika. The Blessed Buddha was staying at the Kalanda Kanivapa in the bamboo grove near Rajagriha, when a great number of lay vow holders from Rajagriha, who endeavored to see and pay their respects to the Blessed One every morning, thought, "The Blessed One has withdrawn into seclusion, as have the dedicated monks. So it is still too early for a visit to see and pay our respects to the Blessed One. Therefore, let us visit the park of another group of wandering mendicant Tīrthikas." With that, the great number of lay vow holders from Rajagriha set out for the park of another group of wandering mendicant Tīrthikas. They were delighted to see the wandering mendicant Tīrthikas together, and, after various expressions of esteem, sat off to one side. One wandering mendicant then said to the other wandering mendicants, "Friends, are we the only ones with a seated practice, a protocol, and a restoration rite? Or do the ascetic sons of the Shakyan have them too?" Another wandering mendicant replied, saying to the other wandering mendicants, "Friends, we alone have a seated practice, a protocol, and a restoration rite. The ascetic sons of the Shakyan do not have them." The motion. The great number of lay vow holders from Rajagriha neither praised what the other group of wandering mendicant Tīrthikas had said, nor did they repudiate it. Having neither praised nor repudiated it, they then rose from their seats and went to the Blessed One. On reaching him, they bowed at his feet and sat off to one side. Having sat off to one side, these lay vow holders from Rajagriha related at length everything that had happened, while among the other group of wandering mendicant Tīrthikas, and then appealed to the Blessed One. "O Blessed One, out of compassion, please establish a seated practice, a protocol, and a restoration rite of our own." Consent. By remaining silent, the Blessed One consented to the appeal made by the great number of lay vow holders from Rajagriha. Understanding the Blessed One's silence to be consent, the great number of lay vow holders from Rajagriha praised and rejoiced in the Blessed One's proclamation before taking their leave from his presence. Seated practice. The Blessed One then said to the monks, I hereby declare that henceforth monks should attend to a seated practice, a protocol, and a restoration rite. Not knowing what a seated practice, a protocol, or a restoration rite ought to be, the monks appealed to the Blessed One, who replied, Come, monks, the seated practice is called yoga. Reflect on this. No matter how you sit or what you do, the whole of this body, from the soles of the feet up to the hair on the crown, and all the skin in between, is filled with all sorts of impurities. The hair on the head and face, the nails and teeth, the dirt, the grime, and the skin, flesh, bones, sinews, veins, kidneys, heart, spleen, lungs, intestines, colon, stomach, guts, bladder, liver, feces, tears, mucus, oils, lymph, marrow, fat, bile, phlegm, pus, blood, brains, meninges, and urine. Meditation residence. After the Blessed One instructed them to engage in yoga, the monks engaged in yoga even when out on their rounds. And when they did, they collided with wandering elephants, horses, and infantrymen, causing them to trip and fall, prompting those who lacked faith to taunt those noble ones. Didn't you see them? Told to engage in yoga, the monks appealed to the Blessed One, and the Blessed One replied, Those who are out on their rounds should not engage in yoga. When they engaged in yoga at the monastery gatehouse, they fell asleep, prompting those who lacked faith to taunt those noble ones. Hey you, is it your practice to sleep in public? At this the monks appealed to the Blessed One, and the Blessed One replied, You should not engage in yoga at the gatehouse. When they engaged in yoga on the terrace, and those same problems occurred, the Blessed One said, You should not engage in yoga on the terrace. When they practiced in the residence hall, they failed to achieve single-pointed attention, because noise is a thorn to concentration. So the monks appealed to the Blessed One, and the Blessed One replied, You should not engage in yoga in the residence hall. When they went into the forest to practice, and bandits, rogues, lions, tigers, panthers, and leopards crossed their paths, the monks appealed to the Blessed One, and the Blessed One replied, You should not engage in yoga in the forest. When they practiced on the outskirts of towns, those who lacked faith taunted those noble ones. "Hey, you! Are you dead or what?" At this the monks appealed to the Blessed One, and the Blessed One replied, "You should surround a place with boughs, a lattice, or screens." So they surrounded a place with boughs, a lattice, and screens. But those who lacked faith taunted those noble ones. "What is this? A garden for melons and radishes?" At this the monks appealed to the Blessed One, and the Blessed One replied, "You should surround the place with walls or a ditch." So they surrounded the place with walls or ditches, but those who lacked faith taunted those noble ones. "What is this? A garden for lemons and pomegranates?" To which they replied, "We are practicing yoga." The monks then appealed to the Blessed One, and the Blessed One replied, "I give consent to build a meditation residence." Given consent by the Blessed One to build a meditation residence, but not knowing what a meditation residence ought to be like, the monks appealed to the Blessed One, and the Blessed One replied, "There are two types of meditation residence, those in small clusters and those in large clusters. The smaller has 2 dwellings with a passageway in the middle, while the larger has 10 or 12 dwellings with a passageway in the middle." When the monks built meditation residences, they built them like storerooms, that is, without a doorway. So the Blessed One said, "A doorway should be cut out." When the monks failed to install doors, the Blessed One said, "Doors should be installed." When the doors proved difficult to open, the Blessed One said, "Handles should be affixed to them." When the rings of the door handles were found to make noise, the Blessed One said, "A piece of leather should be placed under them." When the doors proved difficult to close, the Blessed One said, "A cross-bolt, lever, or bar should be installed." When the meditation residences proved dark, the Blessed One said, "A window should be cut out." When the windows were cut out too low, bandits, rogues, lions, tigers, and lepers got in. So the Blessed One said, "They should not be cut out too low." When the windows were cut out too high, the light was not bright enough. So the Blessed One said, "They should not be cut out too high. Leave 2/3 and cut them out of the remaining third." When the monks left the upper 2/3 and cut out of the lower third, the Blessed One said, "Leave the lower 2/3 and cut the windows out of the remaining third above." When the monks cut out wide apertures that tapered in, the Blessed One said, "Windows should be shaped like the sea, with a narrow aperture and a broad interior." When crows, sparrows, and pigeons flew in, the Blessed One said, "The windows should be latticed." When house and horseflies flew in, the Blessed One said, "The windows should have shutters." When wind blew the shutters open, the Blessed One said, "A bar should be installed." When the shutters proved difficult to close, the Blessed One said, "Cross-bolts and levers should be installed." When the shutters proved difficult to open, the Blessed One said, "Fashion a key lever from wood and use it to open the window, and a bar, a cross-bolt, or a lever to close it. Since seats were needed in the meditation residence, the Blessed One said, "Fashion a cushion of earth." When these proved too hard, the Blessed One said, "Use a stool." The Blessed One told the monks to use a stool, but they did not know what such a stool ought to be like. So the Blessed One said, "Make a stool with a frame 1 cubit long on each side and a woven seat for comfort." Since the monks did not know what weave to use, the Blessed One said, "There are 5 weaves: sedge, hemp, valvaja grass, pata straw, and reed." When the monks found these too hard, the Blessed One said, "Place a cushion over the seat." Since the monks did not know what a seat cushion ought to be like, the Blessed One said, "Sew together 2 pieces with a perimeter of 4 cubits, each side 1 cubit wide, and fill them with fibers." Since the monks did not know what fibers to use, the Blessed One said, "There are 5 types of fiber: arga fiber, kashika fiber, eraka fiber, baka fiber, and shalmali fiber. Alternatively, the cushion may be filled with one of the following 5: wool, hemp, cotton, cloth shreds, or pamshu plant fibers. When the cushions were filled, all of the fibers shifted to one side. So the Blessed One said, "Using thread, partition it into pockets with crow's feet seams." When the monks fell asleep while seated, the Blessed One said, "A jar should be tied." Since the monks did not know how to tie such a jar, the Blessed One said, "Tie it to the ear with string." When the monks still fell asleep, the Blessed One said, "Prod the meditator with a rod." When the monks prodded them with a stylus-shaped rod, it left wounds. So the Blessed One said, "Use one shaped like a weighing pan." When that still hurt the monks, the Blessed One said, "Once it has been wrapped in a piece of cloth, gently prod with it." When the monks still fell asleep, the Blessed One said, "Throw a ball of yarn at the meditator." When the monks threw balls of yarn in the dark, they went astray. So the Blessed One said, "Attach it to a string and throw it. Then you may draw it back." When the monks still fell asleep, the Blessed One said, "Place a lamp in front." When they still fell asleep, the Blessed One said, "Sit with one leg extended." When they still fell asleep, the Blessed One said, "Sit with both legs extended." When they still fell asleep, the Blessed One said, "Stand up and walk a bit." When the monks walked, they did so in a disorderly fashion, so the Blessed One said, "Grab hold of the rope." When they followed the rope with their hands, the Blessed One said, "Punch a hole in an object, affix it to the string, and hold on to that as you walk." When they walked in sandals, they made noise. So the Blessed One said, "Do not walk in sandals." When their feet got dirty, the Blessed One said, "Lay down a mat." When the mat became grimy, the Blessed One said, "Monks, I will establish the rules of customary conduct for meditators. Monk meditators should wash their feet every 3 days. Monk meditators should fully embrace the rules of customary conduct I have thus established. If they do not, they will commit a transgression. When the monks could no longer fit in the meditation residence, the Blessed One said, "Erect a second story above." When it proved difficult to climb up, the Blessed One said, "Build a staircase." When the monks fell down, the Blessed One said, "Build a railing." When it proved shaky, the Blessed One said, "Fasten it down with iron nails." When the monks could still not fit in the meditation hall, the Blessed One said, "Erect a ring of dwellings around the meditation hall." When the monks cut out doorways, they could see one another. So the Blessed One said, "The doorway should be offset. Build a gatehouse. Build caves, too." When they fell asleep inside, the Blessed One said, "Hang a blanket or cloth near the door and sleep there." This need not be regretted. Manager. They then left, and on their return, the Blessed One said, "A monk meditation manager should be appointed. For a monk manager, there are 5 factors that may pertain such that someone not already appointed should not be appointed, and if already appointed, should be relieved of that position." What are those 5 factors? To be driven by desire, driven by aggression, driven by ignorance, driven by fear, and not to know which of the meditator's needs ought and ought not be attended to. If those 5 factors do pertain to someone not already appointed as monk manager, he should not be appointed, and if already appointed, should be relieved of that position. For a monk manager, there are 5 other factors that may pertain such that someone not already appointed should be appointed, and if already appointed, should be relieved of that position. What are these 5 factors? Not to be driven by desire, driven by aggression, driven by ignorance, or driven by fear, and to know which of the meditator's needs ought and ought not be attended to. If these 5 factors pertain to someone not already appointed as monk manager, he should be appointed, and if already appointed, should not be relieved of that position. He should be appointed in the following way. To begin, determine whether he is willing to serve by asking, "So and so, would you be willing to serve as the Sangha's meditation manager?" If he is willing, he should reply, "Yes, I am willing." Then set up seats and strike the Gandhi beam. After informing the monks of the matter at hand, once the entire Sangha is seated and assembled, one monk should make a motion and perform the act as follows. "Venerable Sangha, please listen. The monk so-and-so is willing to serve as the Sangha's meditation manager. Therefore, if the time is right and the Sangha can accept it, I ask that the Sangha give their consent. Once the Sangha appoints this monk to serve as the Sangha's meditation manager, this monk will serve in such a capacity." That is the motion. The act is performed in the following way. "Venerable Sangha, please listen. The monk so-and-so is willing to serve as the Sangha's meditation manager. May this monk therefore be appointed to serve in that capacity. If this monk would serve as the Sangha's meditation manager, then I ask that those venerable ones who would appoint and accept this monk to serve in this capacity remain silent. I ask those who cannot so accept it to speak now. In accepting the candidate and giving their consent, the Sangha appoint the monk so-and-so to serve as the Sangha's meditation manager. The monk so-and-so will then serve as the Sangha's meditation manager. By thus remaining silent, they assent to the proposed act. Monks, I will establish the rules of customary conduct for the monk meditation manager. The monk meditation manager should sprinkle the meditation hall grounds with water, sweep it, spread a fresh paste of dung over it, lay out the seats, clean the toilets, sprinkle water over the floor, sweep them out, spread a fresh paste of dung over them, and set up piles of leaves, clods of dirt, earth, and water. After the monks went around to each monk and summoned them individually, the Blessed One said, "Rather than summon each monk individually, strike the Gandhi beam." The monk manager struck a Gandhi beam too often, and after a time the local villagers, fearing that bandits had come, donned armor and arrived, shouting, "Noble ones, where are the bandits?" "Friends," they replied, "no bandits have come. This is how we attend to meditation." "But noble ones, you are signaling violence. Where is the meditation here?" After this, the monks appealed to the Blessed One, and the Blessed One said, "Do not strike the Gandhi beam too often. The Gandhi beam can be used in 5 ways: to summon the Sangha, for formal acts, for the dead, for meditation, and for danger. To summon the Sangha, strike in 3 sustained rolls, each punctuated with 3 sharp raps. For formal acts, strike in 1 sustained roll, punctuated with 3 sharp raps. For the dead, the mundika, a ringing staff may serve as a Gandhi beam for meditation. For danger, strike as long as needed. When the time came to eat, the monks did as they pleased. So the Blessed One said, "The monks should not simply do as they please when the time to eat comes. Only when they have learned the time may they do as they please. Those who receive their meal from the Sangha should first wash and then join the Sangha, while those who go out for alms should first wash their hands and feet and then go to the village for alms." When they continued to do as they pleased, the Blessed One said, "Do not simply do as you please. Instead, recite the 3 implements." When they recited too much, the Blessed One said, "Do not recite too much." When they recited too little, the Blessed One said, "Do not recite too little, but rather a moderate amount." When they failed to explain patronage, the Blessed One said, "Explain patronage." When the Blessed One told them to explain patronage, they did not know who should do so. So the Blessed One replied, the Sangha elder should explain patronage. When they explained patronage to an excessive degree, the Blessed One said, "Do not explain patronage to an excessive degree." When they explained patronage too little, the Blessed One said, "Do not explain patronage to an exceedingly meager degree, but rather in a moderate amount." When the monk meditation manager had arrived last and left first, the Blessed One said, "The monk meditation manager should arrive first and leave last. If certain events should transpire, he should hide the key in an out-of-the-way place, and then announce, 'Venerable ones, I have hidden the key in such and such a place. Use it to open the hall.' If the monk meditation manager does not properly observe the rules of customary conduct, he will be guilty of a breach. Here ends the section on the seated practice. Acts. What are the acts? The Sangha motion, the act by motion and resolution, and the act by motion and triple resolution. Agreeing on the Restoration Rite site. What is the Restoration Rite? Monks, it is the recitation of the Pradimoksha Sutra, which I have taught. From now on, you should recite it every 2 weeks. When the Blessed One told them that the Pradimoksha Sutra should be recited every 2 weeks, they did not know who ought to recite it. So the Blessed One said, the Sangha elder should recite the Pradimoksha Sutra every 2 weeks. When the Blessed One told them that the Sangha elder should recite the Pradimoksha Sutra every 2 weeks, the monks gathered in the dwelling. When it did not accommodate them, the monks appealed to the Blessed One, and the Blessed One said, "Do not recite it in the dwelling." When they recited it in the hall, but that too did not accommodate them, the Blessed One said, the Sangha should agree on a Restoration Rite site. The Blessed One told them that the Sangha should agree on a Restoration Rite site, but they did not know how to reach agreement. So the Blessed One said, the Sangha should agree on a Restoration Rite site, the whole of which is natural, created, or claimed, with 1 fathom of land between the inner boundary and beyond. Agreement should be reached in the following way. After seats have been arranged, strike the Gandhi beam and inform the monks of the matter at hand. Once the Sangha is seated and assembled, 1 monk should make a motion and perform the act as follows. Venerable Sangha, please listen. If the Sangha should accept this site as a Restoration Rite site, the whole of which is natural, created, or claimed, with 1 fathom of land between the inner boundary and beyond, then we agree on it as the Restoration Rite site. That is the motion. The act is performed as follows. Venerable Sangha, please listen. If the Sangha agrees upon this site, which has been selected as the Restoration Rite site, the whole of which is natural, created, or claimed, and has 1 fathom of land between the inner boundary and beyond, as being the Restoration Rite site, the whole of which is natural, created or claimed, and has 1 fathom of land between the inner boundary and beyond, then I ask those venerable ones who can accept the agreement that this site, the whole of which is natural, created or claimed, and has 1 fathom of land between the inner boundary and beyond, should be the Restoration Rite site. Please remain silent. I ask those who cannot so accept it to speak now. In accepting and giving their consent, the Sangha agrees on the site as the Sangha's Restoration Rite site, the whole of which is natural, created or claimed, and has 1 fathom of land between the inner boundary and beyond. By remaining silent, they assent to the proposed act. The monks may then sit down at the site the Sangha has agreed on as the Restoration Rite site and perform the Restoration Rite, the lifting of restrictions, motions, acts by motion and resolution, and acts by motion and triple resolution. If they perform an official act while being incomplete, they will be guilty of a breach.